welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Mirrorball. I'm your host, Melina, and I run Mixing It Up with Melina over on Facebook and Instagram. This week, we're diving into season 7 of Dancing with the Stars, and while this season doesn't have a lot of what we would call juicy moments, it was stacked in so many different ways. So, before we move on to talk about the partnerships, the ups and downs of this season, welcome to the new area. It actually looks pretty much the same, just a lighter color wall, but I'm still getting things acclimated. So grab your blanket, grab a chair. If you're driving, as always, be careful. Grab your drink of choice, whether it is water, coffee, alcoholic beverage of your choice, whatever it may be. You know me, I'm going for the crisp, cold, hear that? Diet Coke. And yeah, let's get things started. Let's set the tone. Fall 2008. We have 13 couples this season. Dancing with the Stars was like, you know what? We're going to do this and we're going to do it good. So we've got 13 couples this season. The same 3 judges, our famous Bruno, Carrie Ann, and Len. We have our same 2 hosts, Tom and Samantha. And this year we introduced 4 new ballroom styles to dance styles, to the ballroom. We have, where's my notes? My handy dandy notes are to the side of me. We have the hustle, this one. We have the jitterbug. We have the salsa, which just a total mind moment of my own. How did I not realize we didn't have salsa in ballroom until season 7? But I guess you have your classic ballroom and then you have your Latin ballroom. So this makes sense in hindsight, but my first reaction reading and researching was season 7 was the first time we brought salsa. And then we also bring West Coast swing to the ballroom, which makes sense because we have a new pro that's entering the floor. Let's talk a little bit about the famous, loving, beautiful, insanely talented Lacey Schwimmer. If you're new here, Lacey is one of my all-time favorite pros on the show. I would definitely put her in like top 5 for me, like hands down. Lacey entered the ballroom with a force, and she knew, I giggle because if you know Lacey or you've grown to know Lacey like I have, it is her personality and her strength that she does what she wants to do. She takes obviously into account that there is the professionalism and the expectation of the ballroom style and whatnot, but she came in and she was partnered with Lance Bass, which is the famous NSYNC member, and they ended up being known as like the rule breakers of the season. And without a doubt, Lacey was pushing the envelope on it. She had an edge to her, and yet as a viewer or a fan or both, her dances were insanely just unique and beautifully orchestrated and created. And here's a clip.
9. Run your fingers through my hair. 8, 8, 8. Touch me slowly. Hold it. Let's go straight to number 1.
So yeah, you can see like these two, Lacey is a beautifully talented choreographer and dancer and person. And her and Lance were totally fine hitting the expectations of what that dance style was and yet still pushing it just a little bit. Len often called them out, saying that they were not proper or traditional in any way. Carrie Ann also said that this partnership is refreshing. It's not traditional, but this is working. But I would have to say, after my research, Bruno was their hype man for sure. A quote of his that I liked was that they were bringing a whole new flavor to the show. And I could not agree more with what Lacey did on that season and every season that she got to be a part of, hence moving forward. They ended up coming in third that season, which was so sad. However, they were up against Warren Sapp and Kim Johnson. Warren was a ton of fun to watch, and he had just retired from the NFL. This big football player. I mean, every football player, I've talked about it with you guys since we've started the show. Every football player seems to continually surprise me. But when you have Warren Sapp, the body frame that he has, I was truly surprised. But him and Kim had just so much fun, and he was determined to win this. And then, but ultimately, Brooke Burke and Derek, if you know, you know, they won, and they were insanely talented. The chemistry on the camera, on the floor, those two definitely had people questioning it. She was married, by the way, and he was still dating Shannon Elizabeth. So there was never any crossing of the lines. Brooke did go on to do an interview years down the road and say that at one point that she confirmed they had never done anything. However, she wished almost that they had a love affair, which then she went back to retract and explain that, saying that she just had a crush on him that season, and had she not been someone that was faithful in her relationship, and he as well, she would have loved to see what that could have been. And I guess maybe 2020 hindsight, she was now divorced and not with the guy, and maybe, you know, I don't know, but she definitely had people questioning things. But it was confirmed multiple times that the two of them never actually did anything outside of just having really great chemistry. But those two won, and those two were the only couple that season to get a perfect score. Can you imagine that? The only couple out of 13, and they did it twice. No other couple got a perfect score that season. That is insane to me. Like, should be hard for you to wrap your mind around it. It was certainly hard for me. I triple checked that, because I was like, surely that's not right. No, they were the only couple to get a perfect score. And okay, so let's touch on the couples and the partnerships of this season, and just a little maybe comment here or there to talk about. Again, 13 couples this season, which I remember being like, oh my gosh, that's so many. So I'm going to go in the order that they went home. So Jeffrey Ross, the comedian, and Edita were the first to go home. Another fun couple, but he got an eye injury, and that essentially, it maybe have been the demise of him, or he just didn't have as big of a fan base as everyone else. But yeah, they went home first. Ted McGinley, who is an actor, and Ina Breyer were on. Ina was only on one season, and that is another disservice to the show. She is a beautiful person in general. But yet she was only on for one season, 2 weeks, and her and Ted didn't last very long. I just can't imagine Ted having a huge fan base compared to the others. We have Kim Kardashian, which many of you forgot that she was on, partnered with Mark Ballas. Even though she was well known, she was not known to the level that she is now. Mind you, social media was becoming more prevalent, just not to the way that it is today. And I don't even think Keeping Up with the Kardashians, I should fact check that, had come out at that time. You know, fun fact, Kim K started in this whole, her father was famous, obviously, but she was Paris Hilton's stylist for years. And then that is what gave her the first step of celebrity. Then she had some scandal. Then that went from there, and then it just kept growing, and now she's a billionaire. But yeah, she was on the show. She did not last very long. It was very evident she was very uncomfortable. We have Chef Rocco DiSpirito, partnered with Karina. He was fun. Didn't last very long either. Misty May Trainer and Max, obviously the beach ball. I say obviously, we're going to touch on, she was withdrawn she had to withdraw herself from the show because of an injury. We have Cloris Lynchman partnered with Corky Ballas, which Corky is Mark's dad. Corky is a legend in the ballroom world. And so it was a really big deal that he came to do Dancing with the Stars. And it was the father-son duo that the show needed. Corky was partnered with Cloris. Cloris, we'll talk about Cloris in a little bit. So freaking funny. She was at this time, and she may still hold that rank. I'd have to double check this fact as well. But she was the oldest contestant at the age of 82 to be on the show. Okay, so next up, we have singer Toni Braxton. She's partnered with Alec Mazo, who is the Mirrorball winner of season 1. They get on. Toni is, at that time, she had her reality show going on too. Or maybe that was a little down the road. But she was what I think maybe was like the surprise elimination for season 7. She was doing really well, and I really enjoyed her and Alec dancing together. So yeah, I think I would venture to say she was the surprise elimination. Susan Lucci, soap opera actress, legend, partnered with Tony Dovolani. They were elegant as always. Maurice Green, he was the Olympian speed racer. Is that the right term? Speed racer? Like, he ran really fast. He was partnered with Cheryl Burke. Then you have the Hannah Montana actor Cody Lindley and Julianne. They did very well together. Then you have Lance Bass and Lacey Schwimmer, who we are obviously going to talk about. I love Lacey. Warren Sapp and Kim Johnson. Warren had just retired from the NFL. And then Brooke Burke, who is a supermodel, and Derek together. And those are your partnerships for season 7 of Dancing with the Stars. Outside of Brooke and Derek having the are they, aren't they constant jibber jabber of the press and the media, there was no other like love speculation, curiosity, nothing like that on this season, which is why many of you feel like that's like the juicy parts of the season, or like someone really like butting heads. But this season didn't have any of that. However, they did have a couple different injury type things. In week 3, Misty May Trainer, the Olympic beach volleyball athlete, was in rehearsal with her partner Max, and they were just practicing something that she has done. She's an athlete, you know, she moves around all the time doing crazy things. And in the middle of them dancing, her Achilles ruptures. It was what they then went on to label like a freak accident, but the Achilles rupturing immediately pulled her from the show. And the two of them were absolutely devastated. And I would go on to say that I think Max took it way harder than she did. Max was really, really excited to have an athlete of her nature, and to see the potential in her, with her. They got along great. He had a lot of great ideas to do with her down the road, and that was ripped from the two of them. He felt bad that like she did this during Dancing with the Stars. He knew it wasn't her fault, but it was during their time together. And I just really, truly think he experienced heartbreak during that time. And it was week 3. So she was a top contender at the time, which inevitably allowed for others to bloom in ways that maybe not have been like that prior to her being injured. Another time that we had that season, Julianne, who was partnered with Hannah Montana actor Cody Lindley, they were doing really well. They ended up being 4th that season. Weeks 7 and 8, she had to step away from the show. She ended up having her appendix removed. And along with that, she suffers from endometriosis. So the two things just were a huge flare up. But she only missed 2 weeks of the show, which is insane. If you've had your appendix removed, I do know, I have, like, you could get up and go back to things after a few days. But it left me in awe that like she was back and doing things that you would never know. Which again, if that is your job and that is your nature and that is what you are known to do, it made sense. But I just remember being surprised. So she was absent from weeks 7 and 8. She was back on week 9. In her place, to replace her, they brought Edita back because Edita had been voted off. The first person to go home was her and Jeffrey Ross, which, by the way, I loved her and Jeffrey Ross. They looked like they had so much fun. But yeah, so she inevitably replaced Julianne for those 2 weeks, and then Julianne went back in. So this season on Dancing with the Stars, we are crowning, or I'm crowning, the Andy Richter Award to Miss Cloris Leachman. Leachman? Cloris was an actress, comedian, a so funny person in general, and her time on the show, she definitely showed that. She was such a flirt with the judges. She always had something quirky and funny to say. She was an absolute hoot. Let me see if I can find a clip.
Come on over here. Loki, go rein in your partner.
I'm coming over.
There you go. It's all for you. If you want.
I just want ones.
Okay. All right. Bruno?
And Corky did great with what he brought to the table to show choreography-wise for him and Cloris to do. Cloris, by far, was not the best dancer, not a horrible dancer either, but I believe she continued to move on because people just loved her. Cloris has since passed away. There's just a handful of contestants on this show throughout the 20 years, 34 seasons that have passed away, and unfortunately she is one of them. And that wraps up season 7 of Dancing with the Stars. However, I have 2 pros that reached out to me to answer their questions for the Mirrorball Minute. Excuse me. For those of you who are new here, every season I reach out to the contestants and pros that have been on the show. I send 5 questions to each of them just to see if they have a quick minute to give a response. Some of them have voice messaged me back. Some of them have done an interview. Some of them have just simply responded, and it's been either way, however they respond to me, I am so insanely grateful for, and I love getting the insight of the pros and the contestants on the show. So this week I got pro Fabian Sanchez, who was on season 6. He responded, very short and brief, but I was very grateful to get that. And then I got season 7 and beyond, Miss Lacey Schwimmer responding. I fangirled. I was so pumped. Anywho, so here are their answers. Okay, so first up we have Fabian's answers. What is one word to describe your duration on the show? Amazing, with an exclamation point. Next question, what is your favorite memory of your time on the show? Hanging and coaching my girl Marley Matlin, which he was partnered with the contestant Marley from season 6. She was our first deaf contestant, and I find that to be, we talked about it last season, so charming. All right, number 3, what is your favorite dance of your time on the show? He says, Marley and I had a great time with all of the dances, but if I had to say one, it would be the quick step that we did on the show. Here's a clip. 4, what is your least favorite dance style to teach a contestant? I honestly don't have a least favorite dance. I love how each dance has a different personality, making me love them all. Number 5, if the show would have you back for season 35, would you go back? I would 100% go back on the show, but I'm afraid I might be a bit older than what they're looking for, with a laughing face. He told me, thanks so much for including me on this, and if there's anything else I can do for you, please let me know. Thanks again. Thank you, Fabian, so much for answering me. You know, it's funny, because I'm going to have the same 5 questions for every pro across the board, season 1 through season 34. So it's funny how almost all of the pros that have responded in that time frame that we're in now, which was nearly 20 years ago, or it was 20 years ago, many of them fall back on the feel like they're too old for it now. Dancing with the Stars, I'm still over here pushing for you to bring back the pros as dancers. I would be fine with, but use them to coach the contestants throughout their time on the show. So we OG fans, are people who are embracing the older seasons, have that chance to see a glimpse of what their life is like now. Excuse me. but then allow them to be involved in the show and them be the one to coach the partnerships versus the judges. The judges need to stay as judges. Do not get involved with the contestants. I can't stand it. But anywho, so those are Fabian's answers. Okay, so next up we have my girl Lacey. When I tell you I saw the notice come through, I was ecstatic. All right, she starts the conversation with saying, so cool, congrats. Dead. All right, number 1, what is one word to describe your duration on the show? She writes wild in capital letters, LOL. I was a wild card. I didn't conform to what everyone wanted. What my goal was to create the best case for my partner to shine, and sometimes I had to bend some boundaries, with a winky face. What is your favorite memory of your time on the show? She says, I think the first time I realized how big the show was for dancers, no longer being a background artist, but being the artist. Oh, I love these insights that we get. Okay, number 3, what was your favorite dance of your time on the show? She says, oh man, I can't pick one, but one that stood out that I felt so strongly about was the instant dance with Kyle Macy. We did a jive, and coming from the West Coast swing dance world where we thrive in improv and in the spot execution, we had zero fear. It honestly was so fun. Here's a clip. When you call me Molly, rocking in the house of life, good golly, Miss Molly. Sure like to ball. When you rocking and rolling, can't hear your mama call. See her personality. I just wanted to show a clip of that dance. We're going to talk about her and Kyle down the road, but that is the dance that she was referring to. Number 4, what was your least favorite dance style to teach to a contestant, West Coast swing or country two-step. These are highly stylized dances with interpretation and musicality as the core, so it's hard to teach feel. Number 5 was, if they asked you back, would you go back? And she did not answer that question. I don't know if it was done on purpose or she is insanely busy right now, so she may have forgot it. I don't know. You know, one could speculate that there are reasons why she deliberately chose not to answer that question. I mean, she started the conversation with saying, you know, she was the wild card pick pro. So she often bent rules, pushed the boundaries, things like that. So I don't know if they would want someone like her on the show now, although maybe, I don't know, they should want her back. But anyways, she did not answer that question. Lacey, thank you so much for responding and giving some perspective and insight on your time with the show. And Lacey, you can currently find her. She is doing a small residency in Vegas with her now husband, Frankie. She is the Vegas showgirl while he sings and performs. She also, if you are a dancer, she is constantly traveling, doing different conferences and conventions, and she just opened up her it's baby ballroom, where she is coaching you virtually through how to be a better ballroom dancer. So there you go. And that wraps up this week's episode of Dancing with the Stars Season 7. I am loving this. Thank you guys so much for being patient with me this last week during my move. Lots of little things going on. I just appreciate you guys so much. If you don't already, please subscribe to this channel. Please share it with your friends. Like the videos. Comment if you've got anything to say. All these little things make a huge difference. It's nothing out of your pocket, but it could project me into a good way to keep the show growing. You can also be sure to follow me over on Instagram or Facebook, Mixing It Up with Melina, all one word. And over there, we are constantly every day talking about the season Monday through Friday. So over there, you can see Where Are They Now, a better in-look, the trading cards I've created for the pros, different dances, things like that. Thank you guys so much. As I always say, have a great week, and I'll see you next one.